Hello? Hello? Is anybody out there?
Welcome to All the Shit with Tom and Will. This is the Quick Hit Weekly.
Why, hello, Tom.
What's up, Will? And welcome back to All the Shit with Tom and Will. This is the Quick Hit Weekly. Will and I just kind of chat about our highs and lows for the week. This is a follow-on from last week's episode. We didn't get to our wild card, so the way we've kind of structured the podcast going forward, we are using this as a way to tee up the conversation. So each week we'll bring a high from the week, a low from the week, and then a wild card. And if we get tied up talking about highs and lows, we'll push, if we have good content, to the next week. So I don't want anyone to think that they're missing out on our great wild card. You just might not hear things in as timely a fashion depending on when it comes out. You can just imagine that it was this week. How's that?
Works for me, Tom.
This one is time sensitive a little bit, but it's not going to make a difference. So my wild card is the 4th of July. 4th of July was just a couple weeks ago. And first of all, this is a high that I didn't talk about last week, but it ties to the 4th of July. My brother Mike just had, him and his wife Natalie just had their first baby.
Oh, wow.
So
congrats to them.
Born
That is
on the 4th of July.
Major life-altering event, and that's a really cool birthday, too.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're going to have a birthday and a holiday, 4th of July is the one.
Yeah.
You know, happy birthday, Lena Adele, and welcome to the world. Congratulations, Mike and Natalie. And so that was the early morning on the 4th of July. I'm going to back up a day from there. We took the 3rd of July and went kayaking with a handful of folks. Some, my lifting buddy from the gym was going, and it was a couple people he worked with. So Anna and I went, got some kayaks, and we just went up to Buchanan and floated down the James, which was awesome. I mean, it was a beautiful day. There was not a lot of people because I think most people would do it on the 4th.
Right.
Weather was great. We got to a point on the river where there was a tree overhanging the river and a rope swing tied to it.
Hell yeah, boy!
Yeah, so this is also going to connect to the adventuring episode that we talked about, people doing crazy shit for thrills, right? And you might be thinking, well, it's a rope swing. No
That's
big deal.
exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, damn, Tom, you're old. Ooh, I went off a rope swing.
So I didn't go off a rope swing because I'm afraid of rope swings. And so... So here's why, though, all right? So my mother-in-law, I guess, it's been a long time. It's been at least 10, 12 years. My mother-in-law went off a rope swing at the lake in Indianapolis. They have, they go out to the lake, they hang out there. She was swinging on a rope swing, and her finger got caught in the rope. So when she let go, it completely destroyed her finger. So she had to have what they call a shotgun surgery, where they open it up, bend your finger all the way back, and repair all the tendons and ligaments in there, and then fold it back up and put it back together.
That's disgusting.
So every time, it's pretty gross. And so every time I see a rope swing, that's all I can think about. And so this rope it was a big long rope with some knots in it, and then it had a string at the bottom, because with the string you get in the water, you grab the string and you swing the rope up,
Yeah.
And so I watched someone go, and he got, that little string caught him and whipped him under the arm. He was fine, but it just reinforced to me, I'm not doing that thing.
Yeah.
So this tree was it was like an angle like this. So it wasn't like a really steep grade. And there was some wooden planks nailed into it from whoever put the swing up. So we all pulled the kayaks over, and we had a couple kids with us. They were going up and jumping off, and some of the guys were swinging off the swing. And so they'd swing out over the river and drop in, it was maybe a 3-4 foot fall at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was not really thinking about the depth of the river, which probably was 4 feet at best.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty high for a river that when we haven't had a ton of rain, 3.5 to 5 feet is kind of the average for the stretch of the James. The James River.
Oh, the James. Okay, I got you. See, there's almost the exact same rope swing on the New River, which is where we usually kayak, but that beast is deep in spots. Deep.
Yeah. You can't really tell because the river, sometimes you're going over it and it's a couple inches of water and you're scraping the bottom with your kayak.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice and deep. But I'm looking at this thing and I had a couple drinks. So I was, I wasn't popped by any means, but I was loose and having a good time.
River life.
So I watched them climbing up halfway up this tree, and they're like clinging onto it like, scared little bears that were afraid of falling in the water.
Says the guy who was not about to go on it at all.
Exactly. So what I did was I climbed up past the steps into the canopy of the tree and just straight jumped. So while these guys are swinging off this thing and getting, 3 feet, 4 feet worth of drop, I climbed up to where I'm jumping from 10 feet. At
into
least
3 or 4 feet of water.
Yes, which I hadn't thought about at the time.
Clearly.
Okay. So I'm up there, and everyone's like, don't do it, man, don't do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it. And so I'm looking over, I looked at Anna. She didn't come ashore. She was sitting out there in her boat just watching me like, don't do it, don't do it. And I was like, oh, now I have to do it.
It's too late. I have to now.
I have to. I can't back down because that's the macho man in me, right? Risk taker, adventure boy. And so I jumped. And I did make sure that I didn't go like straight into the water.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure, I thought about, all right, I'll probably have, 3 or 4 feet of water. I didn't know because I didn't check, which was the dumb thing. I should have at least checked the depth.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to do a cannonball-ish and then just spread my arms and legs out when I hit the water and I'll be okay.
Oh.
So I hit the water, I spread out, and I came all the way down and my back just kissed the bottom of the river.
Yeah.
So it was perfect, but I got a full enema from landing in there from that height. It didn't even hit me. I went and did it again, and the second time I clinched my butt and got into what my dad calls the sit down, which is basically just like you jump and then you get into a position like you're in a lazy boy, semi-reclined. So your butt hits first, but your body kind of goes like that, and you create a huge splash.
Yeah.
So that was my goal, because my buddy Eric was floating by in his kayak, and I told him, come on over a little closer. I jumped right next to him and just absolutely blasted him.
Got him.
So that time, it felt like I got smacked on my butt, but it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
But the same thing, just kind of kissed the bottom. And it wasn't until after that I was thinking, man, there could have been a rock that I hit my head on. There could have been any number of things that had gone wrong.
Stick that could have impaled you.
Yes, so much stuff, man. And I am just grateful to have gotten out of that, in good shape. I just trusted, there's a rope swing. Everything must be good. It must be deep, all the things.
Yeah.
But, it was set to jump from 2 or 3 feet versus the 10-foot jump that I took. So that was kind of a wild card. Then that evening we got back. My brother and his wife and their 2 girls came over, and we launched off a bunch of fireworks that I'd got in South Carolina when Tyler and I were driving back from our trade show in Savannah. My niece, I think she's 9 or 10. She looked at me and she's like, aren't fireworks illegal? And my brother looked at me like, aren't they? And I said, yeah, but it's the 4th of July. The 4th of July is about celebrating rebellion. And so, and then he goes, yeah, pretty much. So we were in the clear on that, and she was cleared up with the legality issue.
Yeah.
So we shot off some fireworks. Half of them were duds, which was kind of a bummer. But, the whole day, and this is the wild card part of it, it kind of got me thinking about America, our history, and really the death of the American dream. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and a lot of things will kind of hit that I think, oh, yeah, it's another sign, right? The American dream is you can make it, anybody can make it, get your house, get your family, a white picket fence, 2 kids and 2 cars, all these things. And it seems that it's getting harder and harder to achieve that for the average person. And one of the ways that I think it's most clear is in family dynamics, right? So, my brother Andy is starting a micro farm. He has started. He's a very successful micro farm.
Yeah. And
so he works a full-time job.
Hang on. Shout out to Red Fern Farm.
Red Fern Farm, VA, baby. Red Fern Farm, VA, as in Virginia. Go check them out. Yes, they just actually had a mini documentary made about their farm, and it is gorgeous. So if you want to check it out, see what he's about, Red Fern Farm, VA, worth checking out. Very, very cool story.
Where do we find him? He's on Insta. Where else? Is there a web address or something?
Red Fern Farm, VA is the website. His Instagram's linked off of that.
Is it a .com?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep, redfernfarmva.com. And, if you're into farming at all, and you want to learn, even if just basic gardening stuff at your house, he's got 3 acres of land. He started on less than an acre and they've spread it out a little bit, but he does a lot of tutorials and stuff like that. So well worth a follow.
It's very cool. I have mad respect for anybody that's trying to grow real food, real livestock. most of the food we have access to is garbage. It's just crazy how bad the meat and the produce is, and how low quality it is, and how just toxic it is from pesticides and chemicals, and how hard it is for the average person to get access to clean, healthy, unadulterated food. So sometimes you got to grow your own. Mad respect,
Yeah.
Andy.
He does that, but he has a full-time job on the side. So he's doing all of this farm, maintaining this entire farm in the morning before he goes to work, in the evening when he gets home from work, while also trying to balance having two girls, under 10 at home. His wife works full-time in healthcare, so she works long, long hours. She runs the flower side. They do wildflowers, and she runs that side. So they are extremely, extremely busy, and his goal is to be able to farm full-time and really scale this thing. And they're weighing, how do we manage childcare? How do we manage time to take the girls to do these things and make enough money to support ourselves and all these things? And it's just, I watch how hard he works. I've never worked that hard in my life for anything. I don't have the drive to do that.
Right.
If it's not, my life isn't dependent on it, I'm not going to work that hard.
Right.
And so even people who are working that hard are struggling to answer those questions, right? And they both have decent jobs. Same thing with my colleague Tyler. His wife just accepted a job to go part-time so that she can be home with their girls more, and she's in healthcare also. But now they're also trying to do the math and figure out, all right, well, where do we have to cut to be able to just make ends meet? And they're both in well-paying, what we would consider well-paying jobs. They don't live glamorously by any stretch. And so it just makes me think about, these are the people in my life that I know. Anybody that's, the bulk, I would say 60% or more of Americans are much less well off than we are.
Yeah.
How do they make that work? And at what point do you just say the American dream is dead? Because there's no way that you can feasibly do it, especially with housing prices the way they are. And I don't know, man, that to me is a worrying trend that I don't have a solution for, but I see it, and I think that is driving a lot of the issues in the country today that we're butting heads over. That's one issue that I don't think a lot of people look at and realize that might be part of the core of why we're fighting over table scraps and smaller issues, when that really seems to be, to me, what the real driver behind that is.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there. The middle class is disappearing, and it's not because everybody's getting rich, right? And it is crazy. If you went back 2-3 decades, right? My role, my situation would be dramatically different, because I don't have a minimum wage job, an entry level job by any stretch of the imagination, but a single income household, we're having to deal with all those same things, right? And there are certain things we are not willing to make concessions on, right? The quality of education and care for our children is one of them. And that's why when my daughter was born, my wife did not go back to work after she was born, because we didn't feel it was appropriate to have a child and then to shuttle them off immediately for someone else to raise them. Now, I am not pointing fingers or saying anything negative towards anybody that has to do that.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people that do it don't want to, but it's their reality. And so I understand.
That's a luxury that you guys were able to choose.
Right.
And
but we had to make a lot of sacrifices to do that,
Yeah.
And then when it's time for her to go to school, we didn't want her to go to the public schools around here. Again, another thing, I know some people don't have a choice, and so we ended up putting her in like it's like a hybrid private homeschool with an amazing curriculum. The teachers genuinely care. They care about the students and their development, and the kids are learning how to learn. And so again, another sacrifice, right? We haven't been able to get out of our starter home because of these sacrifices. We haven't been able to get, new or more reliable vehicles because of these sacrifices. But at the end of the day, if that's what we have to do, that's a decision that we made. But not everybody can make that decision. And it's rough, and the struggle's real, and it's stressful, and so I understand completely, and my heart goes out to everybody that has to make that decision, because I understand, how you don't enter that conversation or make those decisions lightly by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, people always talk about going back to the good old days, whether it's the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever generation you are, it kind of varies. Mm-hmm. But in any case, your situation where you've got a job, your wife stays at home with the kids, you have a house, all this stuff, that was pretty much the baseline. You didn't have to have a lot of money to have those things, and most people did have those things. And now it's becoming a rarity, and that is what is most concerning. More and more is being taken from the lower and middle classes. It's just the way that capitalism has, we've built this machine that feeds money up. And I'm not knocking capitalism, but I think it's just progressively, it's like the, small trickle that eventually, you wake up 10 years later and you got a canyon in your yard if you haven't managed your water mitigation well. It's the same kind of thing. We haven't really clearly seen it happening, but it's happened. And we're at this point where we have this canyon. And now how do we fix it? How do we get people back to the point where they feel like I can do a job that fulfills me? I don't have to work 4 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever it is to make ends meet. I can do a job, take care of my family, feed my family, house my family, and I might not be wealthy. I might not have everything that I want. I might not have the newest phone, the newest car, whatever, but I can get by. And I think if we got to that point, so much more of the stress and anxiety and anger that results in this country would be, mitigated dramatically. I think we'd be in a much better place. I don't know the answer to do that. I don't think the Republicans do. I don't think the Democrats do. I don't think it is something that we can fix politically. I think it's something that we have to start doing from a grassroots and local level. But man, to try and start something like that, I wouldn't know where to begin.
No, well, I mean, part of the problem too is just the U.S. economy in general, and salaries do not keep up with inflation. So if you just looked at one point, as simple as that is, right? And I'm not an economist or anything like that, but salaries do not keep up with inflation, unless you're in the upper, 1% or whatever, and so it just keeps getting further away and it keeps getting harder and harder. And, we print more money and it's worth less and less the more we do that, and so it's a systemic issue. But yeah, I mean, I don't personally, I don't see anything changing unless something dramatic changes, but we're probably talking worldwide conflict at that point.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean for my wild card to kind of be a downer, but I just wanted to kind of share what's been on my mind. And the 4th of July kind of really catalyzed that, because it is kind of the time when we think about America and our origin story, as glamorous as we make it out to be now. And it's just it's a reminder of, in many ways, how far we've come, but also in many ways how far we've fallen. And it's, yeah. So I'm sure we'll touch on that as we go. And if anyone has any thoughts on that, I'd love to see them in the comments and let us know where you are with that. If you want to come on here and share that with us, let us know. So,
man, Tom, you're such a deep thinker. I'm always thinking like, get money, get swole, get money, get swole, get money, get swole.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of time to think when you're sitting on a river floating for 3 hours. So
true, very true.
These are the things that I ruminate on.
Oh man, good stuff. Well, let me throw my wild card out there. I don't think it's going to be as
buddy.
As good, but so wild card. Also over the long 4th of July weekend, I am a hard ass, bro. I went hiking with 104 fever. Wild card.
Why?
Because I didn't know I had 104 fever
until it was just hot outside and you figured that was it.
Well, I mean, I know I didn't feel good. I thought I had a low-grade fever, but I had sat inside sick almost the entire long weekend, and we had all these plans to do awesome things, and I felt bad for the kids and Caitlin, and I was tired of just sitting out, and I'm like, let's go do it. Let's go do it. I felt all right in the morning. By the time we got there, I wasn't feeling that hot, but I'm like, let's go. We're here. Sun's
Where'd you guys
go? There's a place down the road from us. It's like a, I think it's owned by a Methodist church, and there's a couple mile trail that ends in a waterfall.
Oh yeah. I've been there.
Okay, so you're familiar with that.
So you can,
yeah, you can kind of, you can hike the whole thing, or you can walk about half of it. It's essentially a stroll through the woods up until you get to the actual hike and the creek crossings and stuff. And so I said, let's just go. We'll go for a hike or a stroll through the woods with the kids, have a picnic, and just do something fun, touch some grass, so to speak. And we went and did that. And after, I don't know, it must have been an hour or two, I was like, we got to pack it up. I'm feeling rough. And so we get back in the car, and I took my temperature. We have one of the forehead scanners, and I was like, 104, baby.
Okay, well, do you think part of that was that you had just exerted yourself as well, and maybe everyone was a little above baseline?
No, because I'd been trending in that direction anyways over the past several days. So I like, that was not like, went for a hike, sat down, took my temperature, cooled off, set in air conditioning, took my temperature, 104.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
You should have just laid in that creek while you were out there.
I know, right? You know what's wild though, like, because that was before I went to the doctor this time, and so I was describing some of the different, and he's like, you mean 100.4? I'm like, no, 104. That's high. I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's why I'm here.
He's like sweating, shivering, aches. I'm like, yeah, check. He's like, most people think about going to the hospital at that point. I'm like, what am I going to go to the hospital for? My fever's been responsive all week to, Tylenol or ibuprofen. I'm going to take medicine, go in. They're going to say, what have you done? Take medicine. I'm going to leave because they can't do anything else for me because I've got a fever. Put an ice pack on me or something, and they're going to charge me $800.
Yep.
So that was just completely random. Did not know I had 104 degree temperature when I went on the hike, but was on a hike with 104 degree temperature.
Dang, man. Yeah, that's. I mean, you could call it hard ass, you could call it stupid.
Well, it's not stupid if you don't know about it. I'm just built different, Tom.
Yeah, I guess so, buddy. I guess so. That little pea brain of yours isn't operating on full throttle.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you got out and enjoyed the weekend a little bit, so that was good.
Yeah.
Did you guys go do anything downtown for fireworks or anything like that?
No, I mean, my son's only 2, so it's hard. My wife was going to take my daughter that night, but she was acting a fool, not listening, throwing tantrums, and so she lost that. So we didn't end up seeing, fireworks or anything. We had a few small things we did here, but that was it. We did go to, what day was that? One day there was a festival downtown Christiansburg that we went to and just kind of walked around for a little bit, but nothing. It was pretty low key. Our plan was mostly like cookout, hike, cookout type thing. That's what we like to do when we can.
Nice, buddy. Well,
yeah, man.
I'm glad we're all here in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
No firework incidents. No.
Yes.
Did I send you that Instagram reel? I don't know if I did.
Was it the one that was "This is so America"?
I don't know. Tell me about that one.
So there's like this crowd of people. They're sitting around. They're clearly in a driveway. There's a car off to the right. You see like a box, somebody goes over to the box, takes a firework out, sets it down, or it's like a bottle rocket or something, and it doesn't go out of the ground, it's stuck, and it explodes and sends sparks everywhere. And then one of the sparks, this is like a doorbell camera or something, one of the sparks ignites the box of freaking fireworks. And like there's this kid in a kid chair, the mother runs up, grabs it, people are running everywhere. This entire box erupts. Well, it looked like a freaking war zone, dude. It was insane. Yeah.
No, that's not the one I was talking about.
I'm sure the car was thrashed. People probably got burnt, like not severely burnt because everybody was bailing, but it was a major faux pas.
Oh man, no, the one I'm talking about is I don't know if it is worse. So it's in a more urban setting, and someone in an apartment complex had set up like a small pipe or bottle or something. They were launching fireworks off of their porch, and this firework takes off, and it's like
woo,
and goes into an apartment across the way and explodes in someone's apartment.
I saw that. I think it was like an office building or something almost that it went into, but
it was completely dark, so hopefully it wasn't like a residence.
Yeah,
but
I think that might not be real. What's your thought on that? I think it's real.
I don't think it was in the United States because I don't think it was the density didn't look like an American city.
Right, like a South or Central American city.
Yes, or Middle East maybe, I don't know, but it didn't look like an American city, but still.
Yeah, it had kind of like a Latin America look, I thought, to it. But either way, I'm not convinced to the authenticity of that video.
Oh, I mean, I guess
you think it's real?
I think it's real.
Yeah, AI is so good now these days, it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, but I don't know. If you did AI, it would have been... So the thing that made it seem real to me was you saw the flash and then you heard the bang after. So it had the time the
delay.
sound, it would take the sound to travel.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you were going to make that, you would make it boom and all be at once.
Yeah.
So unless you were really thinking about, how do I make this as real as possible? I have to make sure that the timing of the sound and the flash is different. Like, that was the big thing for me.
I keep going back and forth. I'm like, it is, it isn't. It. Either way, it's a crazy video.
Yeah. So glad we all made it through the 4th unscathed.
Yes.
And thanks for sharing your wild card. I'm glad you're feeling a little better. I'll be interested to hear when you get more blood work back, kind of what the trajectory seems to be going forward for you.
TBD.
All right, buddy. Well, until next week, this has been the Quick Hit Weekly, and we'll catch you next week, same time.
All
Take
right,
care, Will.
Tom. See you, man.